Hi guys, we're here with my friend Gina from Purina. Purina is one of my sponsors, and Gina is one of their equine nutritionists who will come around and help you with your horses. So she's going to be helping us here with Rocinante, and we're going to try to get a weight tape around him and then try to kind of get a plan for getting him back on track. He's being fed alfalfa and Ultium right now, which is what I feed. And then we'll just talk to Gina. She'll talk to us a little bit about, you know, rescue horses and kind of the process of getting a horse back on feed that's been underweight. So real happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
So do you want to just kind of, do you want to talk a little bit and
Sure. So I've worked actually a lot with rescue cases because I'm usually one of the first people that people call, coming back and trying to feed these horses that have been either abused or just not fed and those kinds of things. Do you want me to address that right now?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So when we have cases of horses, and we'll show body condition scoring in a second, that's always a good evaluation to determine kind of where your starting point is. We always want to know where you start so then we can know where you're going. Just like if you're doing anything, you need a roadmap. When it comes to refeeding a horse that has maybe not been fed in a while or been fed very minimal, you always want to start slow. So when you're introducing a new hay, if you didn't even know what hay they were on, you want to start slow and kind of just start to give them whatever you think. So start giving them just a couple handfuls, just starting to get them used to it. That's especially if the horses have no food. If you know the horse has been totally starved with no food at all. If you know that they've been on some hay, you can definitely go a little faster and start mixing their hay.
And we did know that they'd been switched over to alfalfa for a few days and been building it up before they got here.
And alfalfa is actually really great. A lot of people are scared of alfalfa, but if you do have your hands on some good quality alfalfa, it is high in calories, which is great for getting a horse back. It's also good for ulcers. It has high calcium, which can help kind of soothe the ulcers a little bit. And these horses that have been stressed sometimes do have ulcers, or we're not quite sure about their health yet. So it's always a good introduction to kind of start getting them on it. Generally, we want to feed our horses 1 to 2% of their body weight in forage. So if they weren't ever being fed forage before, say they were being a starvation mode, then we're going to slowly introduce that. So for example, a 1,000-pound horse, you're going to feed them basically anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds. And so for a starving horse, what I like to do is start slow, but kind of slowly bring them up to that 2% mark. So for a 1,000-pound horse, we're going to weigh him to see how much he weighs.
I'm going to guess. Oh no.
What are you going to guess?
I'm going to guess he weighs 950.
Okay. Do you want to take a guess?
Probably 850.
Okay, good. And we'll weight tape them and
Maybe.
see.
We are going to sure try.
We're going to try.
To weight
Sometimes,
tape
you know, if they're not used to being handled, I call this the white snake, because sometimes they don't like it. But hopefully between the three of us, we can get it around him. And he's pretty sweet. So
he is very sweet. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is I know we're gonna, you know, we're feeding him Ultium. That's what we feed. But a lot of people will say, I don't want to feed my horse that much grain because it's gonna make him hot.
Right. Good
So
question.
can you address that a little bit?
Yeah.
And,
So
myth behind that.
Yeah, and so not all grains are created equal, which is the first thing. People just think that if it comes in a bag, it has to be grain, and therefore it's high in starch and sugar, which is not always the case. Now, with a horse like this, I would say you do want to start slow, but choosing a feed that's high in fat and also high in fiber is very useful, and the feed, Ultium, that you feed is high in fat and high in fiber. It also does have some grain in it, but it is considered a low starch and sugar diet. So just because it's a feed or a grain doesn't really mean it's bad. These horses that have been either abused or mistreated or not being taken care of, they do need nutrients. I mean, you can tell from his hair coat and his skin and his muscle development that he has not had vital nutrients for a really long time. And so we do want to get that into them. And
that is one thing that looking at the videos and pictures are a little misleading about him. And I'm going to choose to think that they're misleading about me also. But I'm really just much thinner in real life.
Camera does change things.
It does add a lot of weight. No, he is in a lot worse shape than you can really see on the videos. You know, his top line is really bad, and that's hard to see on the videos and pictures that, you know, he really has a ridged top line. His ribs are, I mean, we can talk about that when we body score him, but those are the things that it really doesn't show as much as I would like it to on the videos and pictures, that he's definitely quite a bit underweight.
Yeah, and so really hay, when you're trying to bring a horse full circle back into condition, hay is only going to get you so far. Hay is the majority of the horse's diet, and that's great, but there are holes in hay. Hay does not have adequate protein to lay down muscle. It has some protein, but that's top line specifically. You really can't get that done with hay. You can put weight on with hay, but not really that quality of that horse that you're looking for. And so you really are needing to add some type of grain. Again, we're calling it grain, but again, there's such a wide variety of grains out there that choosing the right one for your specific horse is really important. And a lot of time with rescue cases or cases where you're bringing a horse back into condition, choosing a high-fat, high-fiber diet is actually a great one. So I'm actually happy that he even has started on Ultium, because that's a great one to start out with for him.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, so that was all he was going to get. So here, maybe I'll try to, we'll see how this weight tape situation goes.
So you want that side up, just so you know.
Why don't I scoot you out, and that way we don't kill somebody against a wall and have it videoed for eternity.
So, and you know, if you need help, let me know. I'm just going to try to
I just don't want to get anybody run over. I think he'll be okay about it.
Yeah. Good boy. White snake. He's actually really good. And we've put these around foals, you know, who have never had anything done to them, and they're usually pretty good. Oh, good job.
How did I get this? Holy cow.
Boy. Good boy.
Do I need to be behind his withers?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was just going to kind of help you. Okay. Is it twisted, everybody, in the back at all?
It
No.
doesn't look like it.
Okay. So, and if he's never had anything tight,
He hasn't, and so
that's where it's going to be a little difficult. So, you want me to take that from you if you want to keep
you
it
take
tight?
the tape and I'll take the horse.
Perfect. Good boy. So, I just have to get it in the right position. So, when we do a weight tip, we want it slightly behind the withers, and you want it perpendicular to the floor. I know that's probably a weird feeling, huh, buddy?
Damn it.
And so I'm going to go right about there. Good boy. Yeah, see, I thought he was closer to 1,000, but I didn't say anything. He's about 1,000 pounds. So we're going to march him at that. Maybe slight under. Good boy. Good
So if
boy.
you were anticipating with a horse that looks like this now at his optimum weight, what do you think he would be?
So great. So that's actually where we move to body condition scoring. And body condition scoring is where we score horses from 1 to 9, 1 being skin and bones, 9 being fully obese. So
Like some of mine. I'm just kidding.
No,
none of mine
yours are
are
9.
obese. You wouldn't
But
let
we
me.
so for a healthy horse, we're between a 5 and a 6. And we look at where the horse deposits fat on their body. And they can deposit fat, I'm not going to touch you, but on your neck. So they can develop fat along their neck, behind the withers, behind the shoulder, at the withers, along their sides, along their back and at their tail head. And those are the places that we look. Generally, a good rule of thumb is to be a 5. You cannot see ribs when you look at the horse, but you should be able to easily feel them when you run your hand down them.
So the fact that we can see every rib is
Yes.
probably bad.
Exactly. So if you can see ribs at all, then they're below a 5. They have to be a 4 or below, anywhere from a 1 to a 4. If you can't see any ribs, they're a 5 or above. So we know for just looking at him, he's definitely below a 5. But then when you start looking at his other places, he really doesn't have much fat. I'd say he's one place that he's going to lay on fat first is right here.
There. Yeah, because he already actually has a little
Right.
bit, which is crazy since he has.
Right, he has no fat other places. But just like humans, we all put fat other places, right? Like
Yeah,
I
not
carry
me,
it
but
all
I
here.
hear about it from
You know,
people
like
who do that.
right. We're all perfect.
Right.
So just like us, we put fat certain areas, and horses have certain areas. There's some
Right.
horses that have a
Genetically,
big crusty neck,
want to be a certain way.
and then they still have ribs, right? They
Right.
have a crusty neck. So my mare's a lot like this horse. She always puts weight here, and so this is a weight that maybe we'll see it developing first.
Sure.
And when he's full fit and looks great, he'll probably always
Be a little
bit
fat.
bigger. Yeah, I know. Well, we're
Can't be
looking forward to
perfect.
that day.
Can't be perfect.
So for him, he's about. And he has a pretty, he has a pretty poor top line like we talked about, and he's really hippie through here. The nice thing is, I think genetically he does have some good structure.
Right.
So he'll come really well, I think.
Yeah, I think
he already
so.
has some nice, like even with him being not fed at all, he has some nice muscle development holding on here. So I call him, he's about a 3. Okay, so almost 2.5, 3. I'm gonna call him about a 3. So when we look at how much he needs to gain, a body condition score is anywhere from 50 to 70 pounds roughly. So let's say 60 pounds, and so he needs
150 pounds.
150 pounds Yeah,
So we would look at him
200
being
might make him like a 6.
11,
like
50. Yeah, I like a 6.
Yeah.
More of a 6 that makes me look. I wanted to say, does this rescue horse make my butt look big?
Yeah.
That can be a t-shirt, don't you think?
Yeah.
So maybe about 12, 1150 to 1200
Yeah,
pounds.
I would say at 1200. He looks like he really should be almost at 1200.
It's funny because when we first got him in, I thought he was a lot shorter than he is because he seems so diminutive, you know, but really he's probably 14.3. Will you let us tape him height-wise?
It's not as accurate that way, but I can do it.
We'll give it a...
And so yeah, when you look at the structure of his body, he looks like he should be a big horse. He's not extremely tall. He's not going to be 15, 16 inches, but he looks like he could take a solid amount of weight.
It's funny, one thing, I mean, and I'm usually pretty good at estimating a lot of things, but when we taped all of our horses that time, wasn't it funny that my 13 3-hand horse was the heaviest horse on the place?
Yeah.
And my 16-hand horse was the second, but there were just a huge variety in weights that I wouldn't have probably been as accurate as I would have thought I would be.
And that's a good point, because a lot of people, I do this a lot, and I do this demonstration a lot, and I always ask people, what do you think this horse weighs? And it's amazing how off people are, because we tend to go by height. We go, oh, that horse is tall, that must be a 1,200-pound horse, or that horse is short, it must be 900.
And there are some places where that can make a really big difference in medicating and lots of things getting warmer, that sometimes, you know, overdosing can be an issue, or underdosing, you know, so not thinking that you're just going to be right because you've looked at a lot of horses is important.
Yeah, it's fun for me. I get to prove people wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, guess what? But it really is more about body mass, right? Not so much height. It's more about body mass, and looking at this horse, you can tell by his head and his structure that he should be a massive horse versus some other more petite horses that maybe don't weigh as much. Like Arabians tend to weigh, 800, 900 pounds. They're finer boned.
He's definitely a very good boned, lots of bone.
Yeah. And so, just like you said, your smaller horse on the farm weighs more than your tallest horse.
I mean, she is very chubby, so that doesn't surprise me, but I still wouldn't have guessed her with how short and short-backed and stuff she is.
So that's a good learning as far as, a lot of people go, oh, my horse is 1,000 pounds, and they don't actually take the time to actually weigh. So these are really handy to have. I give them out, but you can find them at feed stores and stuff like that too. So these are nice. So it does have the height on here. Since I'm a nutritionist, I never really care how tall your horse is, but let's see how tall your horse is.
What are you doing?
Kit, get out.
It's not Kit, it's Wyatt.
Oh.
Kit out.
Okay, so you have to kind of eyeball it, and that's the problem, that I think that doesn't make it as accurate.
You're such a good boy.
Good boy. So if you, does somebody want to stand eye level with his withers are too close? Yeah, if we had a stick.
15 hands. I would guess. What does it look like, guys?
It looks about just
15.
at 15, yeah.
He's got really good withers. I mean, he has some pretty
If
tall.
we had a stick, we could go.
I'd say 15 and a half.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm blocking the
15 and a half, or 15 and 1. 15
15.
Yeah.
15-1, I'd say.
I don't.
I'd say 15 half.
I think he's 15.
I'm short.
I think he's 15. If I'm looking straight at it. I think his little hair makes him look taller. This little bit
Yeah,
right here.
we'll call him about 15, which is great.
Which is pretty back, you know.
Yeah. Good boy.
That's why he's so good about stuff like this. I mean, really. But then that's the trick with some of it, is horses that want to be this good sometimes can turn into pretty pushy horses down the road.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how you fall on. But yeah, so for him, I'd like him to be almost 1,200 pounds. So we have a little ways to go, and but it definitely can be done.
So right now we're feeding him roughly 1 scoop, a coffee can size or whatever, twice a day of Ultium. And pretty much as much hay as he wants to eat. We're kind of hoping he'll eat a little over.
Okay.
So that's what he's eating. Would you change that? Would you?
And actually, I might have us kind of go and weigh how much exactly he's getting, especially to help people kind of figure that out on their own. So maybe we pause and we go.
Sure,
look at
let's do that.
So we're here, we're gonna kind of go over what we're feeding him and see if we can get an accurate weight and stuff like that for what we're feeding him. This is Ultium, this is what we feed our horses, and so let Gina take it away.
Yeah, so we wanted to figure out how many pounds he's actually getting, because that's how feeding directions work, and that's actually how we calculate how many calories he's getting. And so I asked them to show me, if you want to hold this. We're just using a fish scale, which is really easy and simple to bring. And I have to just kind of zero out the bucket, which for here is about 2 pounds. So this is the scoop that the horse gets twice a day? Twice a day.
We always split our feeding up evenly between.
Okay, so one of these in the morning. So we're going to just see how many pounds that is. And that's just a little under 5 pounds, so like 4 3/4, 4 3/4 pounds.
So he's getting like 9.5.
Well, 4 and 4, 8.
3/4 is 1.
Yeah,
9.5.
9.5 pounds. So that's great. Okay, so that's how much grain he's getting. And then the way that I like to do hay, because you want to weigh your hay too. A lot of times you go by flakes, but flakes are relative. So if I can show you guys a quick little way. This is how I weigh my hay if I'm out at a barn. You can also use a grocery bag and throw the hay in a grocery bag, but I do the present method, which you basically wrap up the hay like a present.
So in newspaper and with a lot of duct
Yes,
tape.
and colorful. We need some polka dots or something.
I wrap presents.
Obviously, I don't like to wrap presents, so I just wrap it with string.
String of baling twine. I know. It tells a lot
I
about
just
us
use
that
some
we're like, this
raffia.
is
You know, at my house, we just wrap some raffia around it. You're good. Okay, so this is what I do. This is my little method of doing it when I'm at farms. You just take your flake, put it in just like you would do ribbon on a present. And so then you have it nice and tight, and I just twist it and put a little loop in it, like that, and it makes it really easy to be able to. Hi. Now, we have a helper. So this is off by 1/2 pound, so it's really, and we have another helper.
many helpers.
So this is, and it's a pretty heavy flake. It's about 9 pounds, and that's actually pretty heavy. Feel that?
Yeah, actually, Boz here is who feeds all our horses. I would say he's probably as accurate in most of that stuff. Well, that's, yeah. I bet it's, isn't it more than that?
Well, it's moving around a little bit.
If you hold it, it's more like 11 pounds.
See how you have to zero it
Oh,
out?
gotcha.
By about a pound. 9.5, 10
Yeah.
pounds. Yeah. So he's getting
20%.
Yeah, 2% Yeah. So
Or,
he's getting
sorry,
20
yeah.
pounds, about 2%, which is what we want to be feeding him.
Perfect.
Actually, you're
He's
actually
pretty
really accurate. You're like accurate.
I was
That's great.
suspicious that he was more accurate than most people, but it does. If you get used to
Atta boy,
kind
Buzz.
of, I mean, I know people think that they kind of know, but I mean, you do get kind of used to.
This is what a 10 pound flake feels like. And I tell people to do this
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. Grab a scale and
Of course,
just
all I can
start
think about now
feeling
is
what
when
a
you
10 pounds
lose
feels like.
10 pounds
Yeah.
of weight yourself.
That's a lot of weight. Yeah. And so, you know, flakes can range. I've weighed a 2-pound flake and I've weighed a 10-pound flake, and it can range everything in between. So you don't have to weigh your hay every single day, though I do know people that do that. But this is just a good way to spot check yourself and be like, you know, what does a 10-pound flake really feel like? 'Cause some people might think that's too heavy or too light.
Right, and I would say most of the time, even when we're feeding our horses, because we have some that are really like Socks, who's really fat, and like, which that's our little one, and a couple of those.
Yeah,
and
like
I think
half
that
of
we
it.
all probably.
This
Yeah, she gets
yeah.
half of this, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
so
right?
she's probably
Socks?
getting more on the 1%.
We just breeze. We
Yeah.
just breeze some hay
She
past
just
her.
gets to smell it.
Yeah, yeah. She gets like no grain. One important thing, though, that I think that it would be good to tell people that you've told me in the past about grain is grain such as Ultium. There's a certain amount of that grain that they need to receive for the grain to even be worth using. So say you have like with Socks, if we weren't feeding her at least a pound a day of grain, it wouldn't
Yeah.
be worth feeding Ultium for us,
Right.
right? And so I know we've talked about that in the past with horses.
Yes, and so grain, yeah, so what happens is people don't always follow feeding directions, and so they
Can't
just,
imagine.
yeah, they just grab a bag of feed and they just feed 1 pound or something like that. And so when it comes to feeds, especially like Ultium, some other ones out there, they are designed to be fed at larger amounts. And so Ultium specifically is about 3 pounds or more. And so you can feed anywhere from 3, you know, on up. I mean, there's some horses getting 12 pounds of it throughout the day if they're really super fit race horses and stuff like that.
Right.
And so say if you only fed a pound of this product, what happens is that it has the calories there, but it's meant to be fed at least 3 pounds. And so the vitamins and minerals would be lacking.
Right.
And so then there's other products that we usually like
That
to
would be
recommend.
better because for the amount of feed, that would be balanced with the vitamins and minerals for feeding at that weight level.
Yeah.
So I thought that was important because you can a lot of times think that you're doing the right thing, but it's also true about feeding a complete feed like this, feeding it in the appropriate amount, and then thinking you need to feed vitamins on top of that.
Right, so for this horse specifically, he is getting plenty of vitamins, plenty of minerals, plenty of protein, all of the dense nutrients that you're wanting for a good, healthy horse. You would not need to add any additional supplements for this horse particularly. Now, if you told me you just fed that horse over there maybe 1 pound,
I'd say, well, you might either want to add a vitamin mineral just to kind of top it off and make sure that he gets already. Because you wouldn't be, at that point, you're not feeding him the feeding recommendation. Gotcha. So anything else? You got any questions, Preston?
No, I think we're good.
Great. Anything else you want to add or anything you want to? No. That's all we got. That's what we got.